Hi everyone, this is your favorite film critic Jay or Jaylan Salah as you formerly know her. And today I'm finally happy and blessed to have my soul sister, my little sister, a film critic that I love. And I've been with her on many writing and podcasting journeys. Shadan Larkey, who is, Shadan, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Shadon Larkey, the awards editor at In Session Film, and a couple other places. And I'm so excited to be here. Any journey that I go on with you, whether it's like journalistic or a life journey or whatever, I'm just happy to be there with you. So thank you so much for having me.
We're just two crazy girls and two feminine spirits that feel intensely and just think intensely. And today we're celebrating not just, the life and artistry of Marjane Satrapi, but also an idea that has been haunting me. And who is better than Shadan to answer my thoughts and my crazy, like downward spirals about particular ideas in fiction or in life about women, especially women in the arts. So I'm going to ask you a question that I feel is very weird, Shadan. Why do women writers die young? Because I'm going to tell you a list first, and then you can tell me whatever opinion, because this is not something that happened in a coincidence. Julie Powell, author of Julie and Julia, she was 49. Okay, and I know that people would say, but these are old. Okay, for me, anyone below 70 is young, but I will steer away from 60s. But we are talking 50s now. Sophie Kinsella, the Shopaholic series writer, died 55. Marjane Satrapi died 56. Now we get to even more alarming numbers. Sylvia Plath, 30. Anne Bronte, 29. Emily Bronte, 30. Catherine Mansfield, 34. Carson McCullers, 50. Flannery O'Connor, 39. Shirley Jackson, 48. Girl, do you see a pattern?
It's and especially I'm about to turn 32. That is horrifying. The horrifying and tragic. And first of all, I just want to say I'm really glad that you reached out to me about this topic in particular because one of the things that I really love about you is that you're a deeply empathetic and compassionate person. Like you're just so kind. And so I think
Oh.
when we're talking about these things, it really is important though to approach them with like as much kindness and just like humanity. And so that's hopefully my goal in this conversation is to like, I don't want to be salacious, but it's like it's important to talk about like trauma and artists and all of those things. So, in terms of do I have a why? I don't know if this is too like woo woo. I don't know how you feel about this, but I really believe that the trauma we experience in our life lives in our body. And I obviously do not know any of these women or what they have experienced, but I would imagine if you're somebody who is a creative soul and you feel deeply, some of that can go into your writing or whatever may be happening. But I do think a lot of it just lives in your body and you feel the way you feel your emotional pain perhaps differently or more sharply. You may also feel you probably manifests itself in some sort of illness or, tragedy. What do you think about that?
I
That's
also
my
think,
non-scientific guess.
why did I mention these writers? Some of them, of course, died before witnessing their success. It's some of them because these were like deaths that were one after the other. There was Marjan, and then there was Sophie Kinsella before her, and then there was also, I think this right, and then I randomly discovered that Julie Powell had died. And because I don't see myself, okay, as this mega successful writer as these women are, I didn't sell millions of copies, obviously. No one asked me to adapt something that I've written into a movie. I think it just traumatized me that they died young, in my opinion, because for me, the idea of having an untold story inside you or being an unfulfilled writer is something that just eats out a woman's heart, especially if you have, by some
Hmm.
foreseen thing, be like shifted away from that path over and over again. And this has happened to me a lot because my life is very hectic and it's not only focused on the arts. So for me, watching them, it's like they made it. They made it. It's like as if there's something, an impending doom or whatever. And these women made it because they reached something I didn't. And yet they died at an age that I don't want to die. Like I don't want to die in my 50s, obviously. So for me, the idea of dying in your 50s, but you made it. And of course, like you're saying, I'm trying to be very empathetic. I'm not trying to say anything mean, but it scared me and kind of made me feel, I don't know, like I'm disappointed in life. What went wrong?
Yeah, it really isn't. It's just a tragic thing that I think a lot of creative people, I mean, not even just women, even a lot of creative men, like there are a lot of just male artists who've also died young. I think creativity, there is like an innate tragedy to it. You know, there's something about like the tragedy of your life that I think drives you to actually be a more creative person. And especially, yeah, as somebody who for years people have been telling me to write a book, and I'm like kind of coming to the idea of
You
like
have
maybe
to.
one day in the next decade or whatever my life I would like to write a book. And then I would imagine the pain of like you put your whole heart and your soul into this thing and then you don't even get to see it become, you know, the thing and change people's lives potentially like in some of these women's cases. So that is like really heartbreaking to think about. Like to change the world and not even know that you changed the world, I think is so tragic.
And imagine what is even scarier, changing the world and not feeling that this is enough. This is, I think, more horrifying to me because some of them have achieved that success and they're gone. Why? Wasn't it fulfilling? Like, didn't it turn out to be what you guys were expecting it to be? Were you still trapped under that curse of creativity that it kind of confined you and maybe trapped you, that you weren't able to enjoy or revel in the
Hmm.
success of it all?
Well, that's an interesting question. Like, do you think it's better to have achieved some level of success and then maybe had the like depression of what do I do now that everyone has these high expectations, or to not achieve it at all and then feel like you're living with this like unfulfilled potential?
Think it
Like
would
there,
be
it's like
it
both
would
are
be
horrible.
both are horrible like destinies. Like for me, the idea of a writer is someone like Maya Angelou lived to her 80s, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She came from a hard time and she's been through a lot, but or Toni Morrison, she's still with us, bless her. So this is my idea of a happy success. And I know this might sound archaic or just like I'm creating a mold for the female writer, but because I'm a writer, so it's like I'm trying to see where I fit myself or how my path would lead me because I've struggled so much with my idea of expression. So this was like for
Mm-hmm.
okay, one of the things that also made me kind of like feel I don't know, this is not me and I'm not saying anything, but betrayed because when I read that Marjane died of a heartbreak she died sad because the love of her life, her husband died a year or so ago. I was like, wait, girl, wasn't creativity enough? Wasn't art enough? Because I've always grappled with these two, you know, yin and yang, the idea of love and my love for the arts. And I feel like they're always fighting inside me. There are relationships that ended because of love, because of the art. And there are artistic moments which got, you know, like shoved aside because I was in a relationship that required more attention than me. So to see that and to read that, I was like, girl, I think I just wanted to have a conversation with her, like wherever she is, like,
Yeah.
why? Girl, wasn't art enough? Isn't it enough? No, that was a scary question too.
I mean, if I may, just as somebody who is, you know, Iranian American and has family in Iran right
Thank you.
now, I
Yes.
think, yeah, I think it's important to touch on this because I do think a lot of her heartbreak was because of her husband's passing, but she's talked a lot about like never feeling like anywhere has been home for her and
Oh
always
my
feeling like
God.
the heartbreak of being away from Iran and feeling incomplete. And so I do want to touch on how difficult it has been to be Iranian anything. What, of course, the people in the country are suffering so extensively and it's horrific, and I nothing that we experience outside of that can even compare to that at all. But
Yes.
even being in a situation where you don't know if your family is okay, you may not be able to get in contact with them. You know, things are getting more and more expensive. People can't afford things anymore. There's so much sort of uncertainty and that ache of being away from your homeland. And so I would say that with everything going on in Iran, I think that coupled with the death of her husband maybe was her grand heartbreak. Um, so in Marjan's case specifically, I don't think it was just, you know, oh, her husband passed away and she couldn't. I think there's something about the like just seeing your heart, your homeland. Even for me, like Jay, I have to be honest with you, have gone to Iran like relatively often to see my grandparents and just seeing like I saw this video of their basically the street that kind of led to where they used to live and it was like on fire and it was just horrific to see that. And I don't, again, don't live there. Like and it, seeing that, like I was part of me, there was a small part that was like, I'm kind of grateful that my grandparents are not here anymore because I don't have to worry about whether or not they're okay. And so I can just imagine like her wherever, in France or wherever, just feeling so devastated because this place that she loves so completely is being destroyed. So I think it's important to talk about that and talk about the experience of like Iranian creatives specifically because
Yes.
it's been really hard.
This is something that is very interesting to me, Shidan, because I would love to hear more from you. Is there no escape, even if you make it somewhere else? Does it still feel like you're weighed down? Or is it because I feel like this is something that just hurts me when I think about it? I just want to cry. Why wasn't I loved the way I am where I'm from? I don't
Hmm.
want these foreign lands. Yes, I'm grateful for these Western places, of course, for offering whatever, but why wasn't I loved?
Yeah.
Those Western lands love their people and people who belong to them, and they give them
Mhm.
all kinds of credits. So why did I have to be an exile and leave and become like, let's say, an immigrant or someone who does not come from that land? But try to belong and try to blend in, it would take me very hard to belong. So I want to hear your experience because I feel like it's a very heartbreaking idea.
Yeah, I mean, I was born in the United States and I think a lot about geographical luck that like the only thing that separates me from somebody, in Iran right now is just the fact that my dad happened to come to America, whatever, 50 years ago. And so it really is like that's just the tragedy of where the chips fall sometimes. But I mean, even my mom, like she came to the United States when she was 25. She has been here for 40 years and she still feels like, she loves America and part of her feels at home here, but then she, kind of feels incomplete here. And then she goes to Iran and feels like maybe she's incomplete there because she's been far away for so long. So there's like this in between feeling kind of incomplete wherever you go. And I know Marjane, like she spoke extensively about that feeling of never feeling whole. And it is heartbreaking. Like, I don't know if that's anything you ever get over. I think even if you move somewhere that's, you live there, it's just, that's not your homeland.
So, but what about your experience as someone born and living and
Hmm.
enjoying things? Why does it? Because I feel like sometimes you are doing a lot of things, you're doing a lot of successes, a lot of achievement, but sometimes I feel like you have this feeling of not belonging. You know what I mean? Like I always see you as this person in a somewhat isolated bubble, but you are
Yeah.
interacting. But I want to know more from you.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into all of my therapy related traumas today. That's a different conversation for another day. That's maybe, for my memoir, like I mentioned.
Thanks.
But I do think it's like I said, I think balancing cultures, the older that I get, I realize it really is difficult. Because even for me, like I said, I was born in the United States, like raised here, went to college here. I've only ever lived in the United States. But like because my parents were from a different culture, there were definitely times where like even just talking to my American friends, they would mention something and I just didn't know what it was because it wasn't something that my parents told me. Like I had to learn a lot of cultural things. Even though, my mom, like I give her so much credit because it was so important to her that we celebrated all the holidays and we read all the books. Like we were very informed, my brother and I. And that's kind of how I became a journalist because that was so important to my dad, my mom, that we were just like plugged in and, knew what was going on in the world. But it is hard to feel like, you're not completely American. And then I would go to Iran to visit my grandparents, and I would feel like I definitely can't relate to that. My experience was so different. So, yeah, feeling like you don't quite fit anywhere. I think the term that they've coined for this is third culture kids, because you sort of create a culture for yourself where you take a little bit of whatever your parents have given you and you take a little bit of wherever you live and you kind of combine them. So I'm very much sorting through that right now at the age of almost 32. But it really is hard. And then especially as a creative person, because there is a part of you that wants to like rip your heart open and talk about it, but then that's deeply vulnerable
You're
to
always
for
afraid of
me.
vulnerability
I
there.
am, I really am. Like
Unlike
people
me, I'm like, I'm vulnerable.
yeah, I don't think I think I am a very guarded
Yes,
person.
you are.
I'm like afraid of getting hurt
Yeah, you are
again
too.
because of certain things and pa my past and stuff, um
I'm really grateful when you
but
open up to
yeah.
me because I know you're like
Yeah.
guarded, so it just makes me I'm honored when we have
Yeah.
our conversations and stuff like that.
I think people think that because I interview people, I'm very like extroverted, and I'm really not. I'm a deeply introverted person. Like after I talk to you, I will be not talking to anyone for many hours. I'm gonna read my book and go to sleep. Like I am, it's like very hard for me to be on. It really does take a lot of energy. I enjoy it. I really like talking to people. I really like connecting to people. It's what I love about journalism is getting people's stories and whatever tidbit you get them in, but like it does not come naturally to me at all. And I really admire people. That's the whole thing with like somebody like Marjane or even like a Julie Powell, like these women that write these personal stories.
Personal
I just don't
things.
understand. And I've told you, like, I just remember I've read, your essays and things, and I'm like, how is she able to talk about? I mean, how did you get to that point where you felt like you were okay writing it down?
Okay, strangely enough, I'm a very sensitive person, like deeply sensitive, like
Mm-hmm.
many things that normal people find, like so what hurt me on a very, very deep level. But I kind of have like this tiger attitude that I took from my father, where it's like someone attacks your vulnerability, you lash out. So I
Mm.
think it was because first it was Jalen is sensitive, Jalen is sensitive, and then Jalen is aggressive, Jalen is aggressive. As I went through childhood and puberty and teenage, of course, my mom, bless her, she was the one who really contained all of that with love and pushing and you kind of understanding things that other mothers from our culture and our community would never understand. But it made
Mm-hmm.
me, I think, more stubborn to be like, you know what, like fuck this shit. I'm gonna be more vulnerable. You know what I mean? I'm gonna write things that
Mm-hmm.
shock everyone. And yes, of course, I'm not going to say it was easy, and I've been in a lot of crap. And by the way, I got hurt a lot, but I just, every time I got hurt, instead of shrinking inside and closing in that shell, it actually made
Mm-hmm.
me more stubborn to be like, so I'm going to like I'm gonna do worse. I'm gonna write an
Yeah.
even more vulnerable because I've met a lot of things, a lot of even creepy or boring men who are like, read something about you, and instead of them just talking normally about you, they would be like, oh, you, or take, like some comment that you made or some random tweet and relate it to something that you've written. So
Mm-hmm.
you realize, oh my God, I've opened myself to it. But because I'm telling you, I have that aggressive kind of like tiger side, it was more like, okay, so I'm gonna be mean to you. Didn't you just exploit something in me or relate things that are unrelated because I was vulnerable? Because you get judged a lot, and I'm not afraid of being judged, although I don't like it. So I think it's a very complex personality. I don't know, babe.
Well, what I am learning now, just now, which I probably should have learned much earlier, is that like it's okay to be somebody who feels deeply and
Yes,
somebody
it
who is
is okay.
sensitive. My whole life, I hate if somebody calls me sensitive.
Me
I just feel like
too.
it
It's
feels
an
so
insult.
insulting.
It's
It
like a
isn't an
derogatory
insult.
term, like, whoa, you're
Yeah,
sense.
it
What
is.
does that
Or
even mean,
like,
you fuckers?
or like, if somebody says, like toughen up, or you have to be strong. I hate if somebody tells me you have to be strong. I feel like you might as well have slapped me in the face because it's like, especially if you don't know me very well and you don't know what I've gone through, this idea, well, if you were, just be strong and just no. Like
What
if
does that
I,
even
so
mean? How
yeah,
do you know
exactly.
I'm not
What is
strong in my vulnerability? Being vulnerable is
exactly?
strength, and
Yeah.
admitting things is strength. I don't
And
have to
it
be
took,
strong as in like Angelina Jolie, like ha ha ha,
right.
laughing in the face of death.
And it took me a really long time to learn that. And that's, like when I look at these artists that were able to do that very young, I really admire that because it's really taken me like just living more time in the world to be like, you know what? This is like the way that your brain works. This is who you are. You are somebody that feels deeply. It is like just stop fighting it and just accept the
Never,
fact
just
that you
embrace
have,
it.
yeah.
For me, it's
So,
like more in your face. Like, oh my God, this is because you're so seriously? Okay, more sensitivity. Bam! There it is. Going to shoot everyone with my sensitivity now. Beware. It's going to come at you. So, no, just, what you do, you just unload it. You just unload it. But for me, because I feel like I've seen a lot of crappy situations, and there were situations where I really got hurt, and I'm not going to tell you I forget anything or it didn't precipitate inside me. This is why it scares me when I see a female writer dying, because it's like, seriously, we have to survive. I'm not going to say anything. Just fight, even with all that pain, with all that sincerity
mm,
and all of that fragility. But I still, at the end of the day, like there was a time I made this video where I said that I wasn't passionate about the arts and stuff, and I'm not going to make more podcasting and stuff like that. And there was a guy who came at me, Sharan, you have no idea. He kept saying that I'm desperate and I'm kind of like asking for it. And when I read his comment, oh my God, with the state of your channel, I don't see how anyone would talk to you. So in
oh
the
my
beginning, I
gosh.
was so, and like you, because I have the same personality, I got so hurt, so hurt. I'm so sad. But you know what I
Mm,
did? I went to his account and I was like, hey, who the fuck do you think you are, you little piece of shit, you stalker? Because he kept commenting and commenting. So I was like, you're a stalker, you're creepy. And then I went to the group where I got him from. How the hell did you guys put this guy in your group? And people were fighting me like, hey, he's our friend. I don't care if he's your friend. I turned it into a battle. I blocked him. And then some of my friends came to my defense. They were like, oh my God, Jaylan, he's at our channels too. He's attacking us too. There were people who scolded the admin, like, how dare you have someone like that going after women and saying mean things
mm,
to them? So the moment kind of became empowering. But of course, you would never even forget, even when you remove the comments, that he said those things about you, this
yeah.
fragile, loving girl at heart, who all she wants to do is just to be out there in the world and pour her heart. So it's
Hmm.
it's not easy, baby. It's never easy. This is why it scares me that yes, you might find or think that you have protected yourself from it all, reach the level where you think none of those things could harm you, and still it will come creeping.
But it's like at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and you'll hear this from a lot of people who are massively successful. Yeah, I think you can get 100 positive comments of people telling you how much your work has meant to them, and then you'll get that one negative comment, and that's the thing that you think about at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're feeling vulnerable. And I think a lot of people, again, have shared this sentiment of like that's just how the human brain
Exactly.
works.
And I
Regardless, so I think of even if you're a highly sensitive person or not, it just like at the end of the day, it hurts. And also just in terms of like being a woman out in the world. I
yeah.
mean, even think about like I'm just gonna blast our offline conversation, whatever. But like you were like, let me get myself together and I'll get on camera. And I just wonder, like, I don't think men think about that. I think they just are like, let me turn on my Zoom
Yeah,
and do
exactly. We
this
put in the
interview.
camera and
Yeah.
he's like in his PJs.
Yeah, and then every time I do like a podcast or an interview with like a woman, they're like, "Oh, like let me at least make sure I put my lipstick on." Like, let me, and I'm just like, that's so ridiculous. And of course, the first thing that they come after is your looks, and I'm like, because you literally don't have anything else to comment on. Not that
That's
I,
crazy. I've been called, you have
yeah.
no idea how many times I've been called ugly. I was posting this photo of me on a beach in winter doing yoga. And I was so proud because this was a very proud moment for myself because it was after a nasty breakup. And it was the dead of winter here in Alexandria, January. I was like wearing very sleeveless, like it was just so good. And there's a guy's like, oh my God, you bitch look so ugly. And I was like, wait, why in the world, random girl posting a photo, not even famous, and you come out of nowhere and write that about her? And I was like, and I contemplated looking at this photo, is this like a non-flattering photo of me, really? But then I realized I don't care. I just love this photo. I don't care if people find it good. I don't care. Like, I seriously don't
Mhm.
care. So I just like, I'm tired of this crap. And I'm
Did you
tired of,
see Francesca Scorsese when she was cast in Mr. and Mrs. Smith season 2? She got a lot of hate comments and she released a statement where she was kind of like, I know I'm not the prettiest or skinniest or whatever, but I'm really like I wanted essentially like I'm very passionate about this and I really want to do this. And I'm like, that is so stupid that she even has to say that. And I think again to go back to like the effects of trauma, I
yeah.
really think, like these things are all like they're micro traumas.
Yes.
I when I saw Hamnet at TIFF, the great actually no, it wasn't Hamnet. It was If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, and
Yes.
Mary Bornstein, Rose Byrne. I'm sorry, I'm getting my actresses and people confused. But anyway, Rose Byrne, she came out and she said, "Imagine the biggest trauma that you've ever had in your life." And then imagine like the small trauma of like a paper cut that's really annoying and it keeps hurting you. And then imagine both of these things happening at the same time. So imagine if you're, a creative young woman and you've had maybe some trauma, this big trauma, whether it's public or not, in your life, and then you have all these small traumas of these comments, like maybe the first one doesn't hurt, maybe whatever, but like I think all of it collectively will gather and it has to come out somehow.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I totally believe this. I think this is so true. And I think also that, I don't know, the idea of being called, one of the things that I also just, don't accept is the idea of being called that, you're seeing too much into this, or you're feeling too much about a particular situation, especially if you're in a relationship. It just makes me, I don't know, like, what does that even mean? How am I supposed to turn on and turn off my emotions and my
Yeah.
feelings? It just doesn't make any sense to me. The idea that you have to be like less feeling, and not
Yeah.
just in that sense of, but less of a feeling person. Like you have to numb out your passion.
My response to that is so. So what if I feel a lot about this particular situation? That's the thing that's so frustrating to me is because I've had a lot of sort of different life experiences that other people don't have. From a young age, I had to learn that like if a friend was telling me about something that happened to them, even if I thought it was silly, I had to just listen to them. And so I would just, shut up and listen. And I feel like I wish I could impart that wisdom of like you don't have to have experienced the same thing for you to have empathy for somebody
That's
else.
true. That's
So
true.
even if somebody is explaining something to you and it seems silly and stupid, like that's fine. For you, it seems that way. For
That's
them, it
true.
doesn't. So just give them the space to get it out and then move on with your life. And they'll try to move on with their. I think, Jay, we live in a world where people feel like they always have to comment on everything, and I blame social media for this. I think social media
Yes.
has made it so much worse.
Yeah.
And so I think people feel like I have to say something about this. No, you don't. If you're watching this video and you can't relate to anything that we're saying or you
Shut
don't
up
feel like it's
and
part,
move
yeah,
on.
just move on. Yeah, like watch something else, do something else with your time.
Yeah,
You don't have
exactly.
to comment. It really drives me crazy. Even like I host Chasing the Gold, the awards podcast at In Session Film, and the amount of people that are like, "Well, I don't watch awards. I don't care about awards," and I'm like, "Okay, great. Don't listen to it then." Like there are people who care about it. It just
And find it entertaining and
and
exciting and
find
just want to
it.
talk about it.
And what I say is like, I'm not harming anyone sitting in my house writing my stories and doing whatever I do. You're not harming anyone with whatever work you're doing. Like, it doesn't affect you. So if you don't like it, you know, don't engage with it. It's really not that complicated.
Because I think it's also because I got it. I always had someone who I got excited about, young actors or actors of the generation and stuff, and they would always attack like, oh my God, but they're not like the old ones. And I'm in the beginning,
Hmm.
I was like, okay, sure, your opinion, you love the old ones more, fine. And then it started becoming a personal attack on my taste, which started seriously becoming like, sure, but yeah, I exist and you exist. So why does it have to be
Hmm.
like you're better or you're higher or your taste is more
Right.
refined? It's not up to you to
Yeah.
say that.
There's something in America. I mean, there's like a lot of versions of this, but America, they say like, don't yuck somebody's yum. And I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know if this is a people, like a Gen Z thing or whatever, but this idea of like not letting people just like the things that they like is
Yeah,
so bad to me. I'm like, let
exactly.
people
It's in
enjoy
bad
things.
taste.
If you only want to read Tolstoy and only talk about, I don't know, Russian history, cool. If you want to watch a bunch of reality shows because that's what brings you joy, do it. I even hate because I love to read. That's my number one, and
Passion.
I'm my number one passion, and it really annoys me when people knock all of, especially the women who, want to read like romance novels or whatever. Yeah, I understand it's not high art, But
Who
again, you
cares?
don't know who cares, and you
It's
don't
not
know
up
what's
to
going on in
anyone.
their life. Maybe someone's having a hard day and that's what makes them feel better. Let them do it. It doesn't affect you. Again, like it doesn't affect you. And I
It's
just
just
don't
not
know why.
like a global threat to the world. What are you guys talking about? Why can't we just coexist? It just seems so weird.
And I think, I mean, I do think speaking of like your perspective and your experience, when you are somebody that's gone through a lot of things, you do kind of have that thing where you're like, this isn't the end of the world. I've been through worse. Like, okay, this person left a nasty comment or whatever it is. Like, I'm just gonna take it and move on because worse things have happened and worse things are going to happen. I think perspective is really important.
And I
Um,
also think one of the things that I love is the idea of when you are out in the world doing something. I really wish someone like a little girl, younger girl than me, like a younger version of me, would see me and feel like, wow, she survived this. So can I. Wow,
hmm
seriously. So this happened to her and she decided this is why, because I'm telling you, I keep an eye on these writers. I want to watch their lives. I want to see them thriving despite the trauma, even with the
hmm
trauma, fighting with it. I mean, I was just having a conversation about depression, and I was telling people that I have depression and that it's something that you live with. And this person, because they had someone in their life who had depression whom they hated, they were like, no, but still, it's not curable, but it's treatable. And I was like, honey, there's no such thing. You live with this. It's like a chronic illness in your life. You just learn how to
hmm
cope, even with therapy, even if you take medications, which I didn't really enjoy. And they were like so attacking, like, but who wants to live with a miserable person? But who wants to have that? And then I realized that they weren't actually reacting to my pain and my trauma or my experience, but to their experience
They're
with some.
projecting. Yeah.
And it was just so frustrating. But then I realized, oh my God, am I going to spend the night wasting it on that crap? I'm not going to do this. I'm going to talk with Shadan and forget all about this in the morning. So I just threw it behind me and I just I realized that having conversations with people is becoming less enthusiastic unless it's about something as like what we are having here. What I'm trying to have on the channel, like some round tables about art and stuff.
Well, that's again why I admire your vulnerability because I feel like when you are vulnerable and you're met with a response like that, it becomes really easy to be like, I'm just not going to talk about this anymore because
No, I
people
am
are
going
going
to
to
talk
react.
about it
Yeah,
all
and
the
you and
time.
I love that you have
And
like
I
the
will
opposite
double down.
reaction. I think that is such a sign of like strength and grace for yourself of being like, I'm just gonna talk to you about it. Like, you can react negatively, I'm gonna move on. But like the fact that you're willing to open yourself up to that, I'm not there yet. Maybe one day,
You
hopefully, I'm
will.
working on it. I'm
You will.
working really hard on it. But
Yes, you go, girl. You go,
that's
girl.
that's incredible. Also, that person sucks, and I'm really sorry you had that experience. Sorry, I didn't mean to
I love
make
you. I love you
Sorry,
so much. Yes,
I just
because I'm
mean
just
like that.
pissed.
That's just a very awful experience, and
I
I
don't
hope
take
that
these things
person steps
lightly.
on Legos or something.
Same, but seriously, I just don't take these things lightly because they seem very. I hate it when people kind of are inconsiderate of your own
Yeah.
experience. Like, I'm
hmm
sorry that you had a terrible experience with whatever, but don't project it on me.
hmm
Especially if you say that you love me and you're close, like if you say that you care about me, don't do that. I'm not going to accept. Some
Yeah.
people accept it. I don't. I just don't. Yeah.
And nor should you. Nor should you. I think it really is like a lack of empathy again of like you don't have to relate exactly to what somebody is saying for you to have compassion for them.
Yeah, that is so true.
And like my experience, we're not, it's not going to be the same experience. Like whoever you're telling this
Never.
story to, obviously your experience is not going to be the same as whatever that's the whole point of being a human being and being out in the world is we're all going through these individual journeys that no one else knows about, and we still have to find a way to coexist.
That's so
And
true.
I don't know if we're doing a very good job.
And okay, because we were talking about a group of like topics, but I want to ask you about Marjan. Was Marjan like a figure in your life, a literary and artistic? Do you care about her work or not?
I have to be honest with you, the only thing of hers that I've seen is Persepolis. So outside of that, I'm not very familiar with her. But what I sort of admired about her, and like especially when Persepolis came out, and I think it's important to touch on this. First of all, it was really groundbreaking in the world of graphic novels. It was really groundbreaking in animation and sort of changing animation as something that was just seen as for children as to something that could also be about heavier topics and adult topics. I don't think you get a film like Flea or Flow or even something like Marcel the Shell without a Persepolis kind of paving the way for that. And I saw something really beautiful that was saying that she kind of helped people see Iranian people as actual human beings
So
and
true.
helped people understand their suffering. There's like a lot of people who learned about the revolution and all these things through her story. And so it's so like important that to me that's her legacy and that's what she meant to me is to kind of have something to point to. I will say again to touch on sort of the Iranian diasporic experience because this sort of war and everything has been so hard. I think a lot of people are kind of there's a lot of infighting happening, and so what I've seen since her death that's been really heartbreaking is people using Marjan's vulnerability against her to say, well, oh, she was too anti-Shah. She wasn't anti-Shah enough. She wasn't, anti-regime enough. She didn't support this person. She didn't support that person. Even saying people of like, why did she portray Iranian women this way or whatever. And so, that was just her journey. And I think it was such a gift that she shared that journey with the world.
And very
And
courageous. Yeah.
very courageous, and I think again in our discourse to sort of bring everything together, like there is this lack of nuance happening of like you have to be in this camp or this camp, and Marjan was like a very complicated artist. She had a lot of feelings, as is projected in her work. And so I just hope her broader legacy is what she did for the all of the mediums that she was involved in. To be honest with you, I cannot bring myself to reread or rewatch Persepolis because a big part of that story is her relationship with her grandma and
Oh,
losing her grandma.
yes.
And so just because I lost my grandma recently, I'm not ready to get into grandma
Totally
material, but
understandable.
I do look forward to revisiting it. But I would just ask like I understand again it's a very difficult time to be Iranian right now. I think a lot of that frustration is being directed towards Iranian creatives and Iranian female creatives in particular. I've seen a lot of negativity towards Christiane Amanpour, somebody who was very important to me, like extremely important to me in my love of journalism, and just seeing somebody with like an Iranian last name out in the world doing cool things when I was a kid, like just meant the world to me. And there's just so many attacks, and again, to go back to my like original point, there's so much anger and it doesn't have a place to go, and there's so much pain and hurt and it doesn't have a place to go.
It's so
And I
true.
think it manifests itself in like, well, I can't do anything, so I'm gonna post an angry comment on Instagram, and I understand it. I just hope one day we figure out some a different path. But I don't know. I don't have the answer. If I do, I'll let you know.
So, what is new for Shidan? Like, what are you doing next? And what are you reading?
Uh,
Because you always have a new book to read.
Yeah, okay. I'm staying with my mom right now, but I went to a local bookstore, and every time I go to any sort of local bookstore, I ask like I just want a book with really good writing. I'm not, I don't need anything that's like super plot driven. I just want to read. And so the guy recommended me this very short novella called A Short Stay in Hell. So I haven't read that yet. That's going to be my next read. But what I did just read, okay, so let me backtrack. I read The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt.
Oh, this is
Incre
so long.
incredible. Yeah, it was really long. It was a commitment. But it's gonna be one of my favorite books, and I wish I could erase my brain and reread it. I thought it was exquisite.
Oh,
I loved it.
Shidan.
I haven't watched the film adaptation because I've heard the film adaptation is terrible, but I absolutely love The Goldfinch. I did read The Secret History. I did not like The Secret History as much. I know The Secret History is popular on Instagram right now. But yeah, I highly recommend The Goldfinch to literally anyone. I think I'm gonna give 1,000 copies of that book away for holidays. And then I've really been into Lily King. Have you read anything by Lily King?
No, girl, no. Tell me.
Um,
Should I?
right. Writers and Lovers of hers is great. She has a book called Euphoria, which I thought was the book that the show was based on. It has nothing to do with the show,
Thank God.
but that's really, really good. And then her latest one is Heart the Lover, which was also really good. So I read those three, like devoured them. And yeah, I think she's such a good writer and the her stories are short. I always really admire somebody who can like write a really tiny book and make you feel something
Oh
in
my
like
God.
less than 300 pages. What a
I w
talent. That's
I wish I
crazy.
had, oh my God, I wish any of my Arabic books had been translated. I think you would have felt a lot with them. They're all in Arabic and no one was interested in translating them to English. But
Mm.
seriously, I would have loved to get your perspective.
One day I'll learn Arabic and either read it in Arabic or translate it myself.
You're the
Um,
best.
but speaking of, so this is a male artist, but I read Tender is the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I know people have a lot of complicated feelings about F. Scott Fitzgerald, but I just thought the writing was so good, and he's another
Hmm.
one who like died completely broke and like an
Yes.
alcoholic, and The Great Gatsby sort of took off after he died. And so I'm like, that really sucks that you wrote these like four brilliant books. I've only read three of them, but anyway, it's just crazy to me that it's like you don't even know that you're
That great
basically
of a writer.
changed literature. Yeah, like that. I mean, F. Scott Fitzgerald, especially like he was the master of the short story. Like he reinvented the short story basically, but he doesn't know that because he died before any of his work took off. I mean, well, I guess he
Exactly.
did make money off of his work, but then his career dipped. Truman Capote's another one. I don't know why I'm just thinking of these, but like that was another one where In Cold Blood was such a big deal. He became such a huge star, and then he sort of died in shame. And then sort of we've come back around to Truman Capote, but
So true. Hmm.
absolutely fascinating.
And like podcast wise, chasing the goals wise, do you have anything coming up that is exciting? You want to talk about it?
I mean, I'm in my off season, so I'm always like desperately being like, "Hey, does anyone want to come on Chasing the Gold and talk about movies with me?" Because we're kind of post can. So I mean, kind of am doing what you're doing with this on Chasing the Gold, where I just bring on people that I like, and I'm like, "What is something you want to talk about?" And I just let people tell me about these things that they're passionate about. Can I just rant to you about something? Well, not this
Please.
isn't a rant. But speaking of women who like died young, I watched the Kennedy love story miniseries.
My
Have you heard
sister
anything about this?
watched. I have because my sister was obsessed with it.
Okay, so you've watched it.
Because anything that my sister watches, I watch because we tell each other about it. Like she shows me
Right.
scenes and gives me the recap, everything.
Okay, so I'm literally sipping my coffee, pretend it's tea. What did you think?
No, I think it was pretty heartbreaking in a way. I seriously, like, my sister stayed really sad for days. And then when I was talking to her about it, she was like, I want to erase from my memory the heartbreak that I felt.
Yeah, I hated it. I thought it was terrible. But
Why?
the ending made me genuinely really because a lot of it is not true. Like there's a lot of stuff that they made up.
I think this is because
And
you are seeing it from that angle, you know? I mean, we're total outsiders. To us, this is a
yeah.
story, fiction.
Well, I think I guess I would feel differently about it if all of the people were gone, but Caroline Kennedy is very, very much still alive.
Yeah, and she's
And she just,
denying the things they say. Mhm.
right, and she just lost her daughter to cancer very young, very tragically. And it just really bothered me that when her son was like, "Hey, I don't want this show out there about my uncle," Ryan Murphy's response was, "Well, you were like 6 when your uncle died. You didn't know him anyway." I think that's diabolical to
It's
tell somebody
diabolical, but it's fun. I
that they
can't
can't
believe it
have
says this.
I know, but like you can't have an opinion about your
But he's
uncle
Ryan
and like
Murphy. Do they think he's kind and shiny?
it's
He's like a
crazy.
mean bastard. He's
And like
always been.
Caroline Kennedy is literally the third like build person in the show. And I'm
Yes.
super fascinated by this because then she's played by Meryl Streep's daughter, which I'm like,
Hmm.
your mom yourself is also a public figure. How do you feel about playing another public figure, knowing that maybe because Meryl wasn't like a tabloid
Yeah,
fixture, but
probably.
like,
She's always like, yeah, she's always in the dark. Like she's a very smart, like she's always away from, like gossip and stuff. So she
yeah, I
didn't
would
probably
imagine.
feel this with her mom.
Right. I would imagine if it's like Angelina Jolie's daughter, like she's not gonna be in a show like
Never.
this that's like salacious about. So that all of the layers of that are super interesting to me. And then like Carolyn Bessette is also super interesting to me because we don't know anything about her.
That's
I
the
don't even think
thing.
there's like barely any audio of her. Like nobody really knows what she sounds like.
Yes.
And so basically they were kind of able to do whatever they want with her. That's super like it just makes me feel icky. I guess that's
Hmm.
what I should say. It makes me feel icky that I watched it because I'm like
So you did it,
these are
but you
it,
watched it till the end
yeah, yeah,
because
I watched all of it.
I remember the monsters about the twins that he made. I didn't watch it. Same for Dahmer because it felt really icky to me. So I was like, no, thank you.
No,
I feel like you're sensationalizing these people. I don't want to watch that. But he's a
yeah,
master of that. He's been doing it since whatever.
the okay, so I watch love well, first of all, I do have a fascination with the Kennedys in general. Like
Really?
genuinely I
Oh, okay.
yeah, I really like the Kennedys. I really do think JFK Jr. was like super charming. Like if you watch his interviews, like footage of him, oh my God. Like I'm like in love with a dearly departed man. But but I just find their family so interesting because so much hardship they've gone through
It's a
so
very
much.
weird family. It's like a cursed family.
Yeah, and the only part of the show that I did like and feel connected to was when Caroline finds out about her brother's passing and she has this like kind of
I just love
rightfully her
this actress.
horrible
What was her
reaction.
name? Sarah Pigeon?
Grace go Oh, okay. Can I tell you about Sarah Paige?
Tell me. What do you
I
hate
have
her
a
too?
friend. No, no, no. I don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to tell you is the reason that I watched Love Story was because I had a friend that went to school with her. And so I felt like I needed to watch because I kind
She's
of
so
know Sarah Pigeon because I
beautiful.
had a friend who went to school.
Okay,
She's
exactly. Of
really
course you
pretty.
do. She
But
is.
but
I
yeah.
just
So
like
that's
the
why
idea of, that couple together. I would imagine people watching them in real life, of course they would be obsessed with them. Are they serious?
But
Wow.
but speaking of like a really, I mean, Carolyn Bessette, like by all accounts, like she was very, very smart, and like that's also a woman who died tragically young because
It's a terrible thing.
her husband was a hot shot who should not have been flying that plane by himself, didn't have very much flying
This
experience
was the
at
debate
night.
that me and Dina, because Dina romanticized, like Dina was crying seriously at the end. And but I was like, this asshole. I hate him. He was the one who took her to her demise. My Dina was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't. So we were like fighting over this because Dina
I
just
mean,
fell under the
I
charm of this
I
miniseries.
guess I I
I
guess
hated him because
I
I kind of like get angry at men in general. I don't
I
know.
mean, I guess I'm in between both of you because I also romanticize JFK Jr. and like that whole family, but literally he's the reason that that
And
family
her
lost
sister, can you
two
believe
daughters. Yeah,
she and her sister
it's
too?
awful. And like, why are you flying a plane with a foot in a cast? Like that does it's just
This is the problem with men. It's their
if he
ego.
wasn't so cocky, yeah, if he was
Yeah,
not so cocky, that would not have happened. Like I think if she had not met him, she'd probably
she
still
would
be
have
alive.
lived a very long life. This
Yeah.
is the problem. This is why I was
Yes.
telling her, I wish she never met him. Imagine she
Yes.
thought in the beginning it was this fairy tale, but seriously, it
Yes.
was a nightmare for her,
And
especially
like
her.
he was known to be a very reckless person, and that recklessness and killed two other people.
That's
And
the thing.
I feel very strongly about this. Kind of like if you're an idiot who wants to get in a car drunk, that's your business. Like if you want to hit a tree, fine, but like when some innocent family is driving down the road and you killed them because you decided to be wrecked, I think that's just awful. I
Or
can't.
taking your family in the car when you're like a little bit drunk
Yeah.
and you drive with them and this is why I hate those scenes in movies. I start like forgetting about the entire movie and blaming the idiot who's driving drunk and stuff like that, who has no sense of care for anyone around them. Like do it on
And
your own.
I know, and I know I started this whole thing being like we need to have compassion and we do, but I don't like when it's like, oh, well, they've had trauma and so they have to like dump their trauma on somebody else, whether it's like physically harming other people. Like they're like, oh, well, he was bullied. So a lot of people are bullied. They don't harm other people because people bullied them.
There was a guy, and the excuse of all the women around him, he had like these massive group of women, his friends. And when you would date him, they would tell you, but he this is why he is, because his mother died when he was young. Wait, so I
Mm-hmm.
have to take this shit because she left him
Right.
for
Yep.
women like
Yep.
me to carry the crap?
Yeah.
No thanks. So I was like,
Yeah.
you guys handle him. Good luck with that. And I left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, again, with the men versus women, I mean, like JFK Jr., it was always, well, oh, he, lost his father young and oh, this, that. And then, like, even when you look at Caroline and the way they talk about her, it's, oh, she's cold. Oh,
See,
she, she
exactly.
didn't
Double
accomplish
standards.
whatever. And it's like, she went through the same trauma that he did. She somehow was able to get married and live a somewhat stable life. Like, I don't.
It's just
Yeah. So that
frustrating. Double
my rant,
standards.
I guess, is about a love story that really triggered me. I got so
You have all the right to. You have all the
yeah,
right to. But I just
yeah,
hate it when things like this happen. And when these
yeah.
conversations happen and I feel like the bias.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, no, guys, don't try
Also,
to.
there's like an inherent bias. What is it called? Like, there's a word for it. I can't think. But like good-looking people like can just get away
Beauty
with a lot of
privilege.
beauty privilege.
Girl,
There you go.
I
Yeah.
swear there was a
Yeah.
guy that my Dina was telling me, Jay, if this guy was uglier, I am telling you, he wouldn't get away with half of what he is getting away with.
Mm-hmm.
All these people are letting him walk all over
Mm-hmm.
them, treat them like dirt because he is a very hot, handsome, smoldering, smooth talking guy. Told me strip him that away from him. His personality is crap. He's a narcissist. He has no care for other people. He's borderline sociopath. So trust me, beautiful people can get away with a lot of things, especially
Oh
people
yeah.
who are like those godlike, like Adonis-like
I,
people.
I
Mm.
mean, JFK Jr., if that man was ugly, everyone would be like,
Imagine.
he's a
And I'm
pig.
not
He
even
was,
saying exactly beauty versus ugly, but I mean the idea of those people who are like movie star beautiful. You know what I mean? Like people who
hmm
are going to win the interview, are going to walk through life like they don't care. Many of them are just crap and trash, and they have terrible personalities. But you feel people sympathizing because look at them. They even look beautiful when they're sad or when they're crushed,
hmm
when they're spotted, like randomly. So I feel like you guys
hmm I completely agree with you. Thank you for letting this be a safe space so I can talk about my
finally are
issues.
breaking out of your shell.
Yeah, yeah, my issues with JFK Jr., who rest in peace died like 25 years ago.
Yes.
But yeah, that show made me
You just triggered a lot
very
inside you.
mad.
Yes, let it
Well,
out. Let
even
it out.
and this
Yes.
is not okay, so this is my own internal misogyny, but I actually again because I've always just been fascinated by presidential history, whatever. I'm a nerd. I admit it. But I was watching this documentary about the first ladies of the United States, and they were talking about Jacqueline Kennedy and how, she spoke multiple languages and she was so educated. And I was like, I didn't know any of that about her. I didn't know anything about her. And because she was like beautiful and elegant, I kind of just considered, oh, she was like arm candy on her husband's
Exactly.
whatever. Had no idea she was so accomplished. Had no idea she accomplished so much after her husband died. No clue.
Exactly. All you
So,
knew about her would be like the Onassis marriage and then the Kennedy marriage, and like how beautiful exactly and
mhm,
how her style was something. But I remember when I was a kid, I was handed like a book about her, biography book about her. And I remember I devoured this book. So this was like an eye opener for I still remember the book. It was even like a used book, but one like a very close relative in the family gave it to me. It's like you have to read about. And I was like, even wait, why am I reading about Jacqueline? I'm not really interested. But then I realized I want to read because I read
mm,
about her father and I read about things about her, the marriages, the idea of her, the assassination and things like that. So it was better than,
mhm,
hearing all about the feud between her and Marilyn Monroe, and all that stuff where it's like just catty women fight over, of course, a sexy, handsome guy. This is like, whatever.
mhm. So yeah, all of this to say I have a lot to learn. I need to check myself sometimes and think about, what are the
Doesn't
biases that you bring into a situation,
exactly.
etc., etc.
This is the same for all of us, trust me. This is why we get swept by the world of the aesthetics. and we don't look to the
Hmm.
core. It's so much harder to get beyond the aesthetics. And again, sometimes beauty works against someone, or elegance, or this image, because some people have very such depth that you
Hmm.
dismiss because whatever they were selling or whatever the world was selling to you as their beauty or their appearance or whatever.
Well, okay, this is actually interesting you bring that up because to go back to sort of the very beginning of talking about female writers, writing is not sexy. And I think it's
No.
something that is portrayed sexily
And
if you
it's
think
not
of like,
supposed, thank you. It's not supposed to be
mm,
sexy, people. Why is the idea of the sexy writer? This is why it hurts me now to see that writers want to be influencers. They want to be, you
yes,
see a
oh my God,
writer
yes.
and you read the book, wow, this is great. And then you open and she's like a supermodel posing sex. Wait, why are you guys are killing it? So if you are a regular person, you don't want to be treated like that, and you just want to sell your book or give it to publishers, they'll be like, no, you're not interesting enough. We need a
Hmm.
persona. We need Twitter. We need TikTok following. We need. That's crap. So please
Hmm.
continue that because I want to hear your take.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just think of when when I was a kid growing up and like the idea of like the Carrie Bradshaw, she's like, super hot sitting in her computer writing all these things. Like, I guess I thought that's what writing was gonna be like, and you're literally that's not what you're staring at your computer, you're so frustrated, you're trying to get
Exactly.
these thoughts out. Some days you feel super articulate and brilliant, and some days you're like, what am I even doing? Why am I doing this? I can't get anything out. And like that is kind of the beauty and the puzzle of writing, but I don't know if that's part of the sheen as how it's presented. I think at least in the early 2000s when I was growing up, like journalism, there was still this like shiny sheen to it of like it's glamorous, it's so cool.
And they
Maybe
get
people
all
don't,
the exactly the hot
yeah.
skinny actresses to portray them,
Yeah,
so it makes
exactly. Like the rom-com girl was always a journalist. Like I don't, like the Kate Hudson and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, 13 Going
exactly.
on 30. Um, so I don't know if that's changed now. If you're like, 16 nowadays, like do you think journalism, I guess it still does. I guess you know what? That's what I kind of appreciated about The Devil Wears Prada too,
Tell
where
me.
they're like it's kind of everything is kind of falling apart, and like you do kind of see her just working. I mean, she did work very hard in the first film too, but like it kind of depressed me. And it's very accurate, but kind of depressed me that she was like 40 and still living in like a shitty New York
But
apartment.
isn't this the truth?
But
Writers
that's the
don't make
truth.
money.
That's the
They
truth.
don't
That
live in
is
these
absolutely the truth.
amazing apartments and afford designer clothes. Are you guys
Absolutely.
crazy?
Yeah. Yeah.
How? Do you see how
Yeah.
underpaid writers are, you idiots? And you know
Absolutely.
what also frustrated me about Sex and the City? How fast things went for her. She wrote the column, boom, got a great book deal. This is why her
Hmm.
relationship with that writer, the failed writer Berger, that was something that I
Hmm.
was that I wanted to watch because it was reality versus whatever sugar-coated thing. And she had like the greatest photo shoot. They arranged the best book signing event for her, brought in celebrities. Her friend is a PR, so she also brought high-profile people that helped sell the book. What is going on, guys? Where
Yeah.
do you get
Also,
these things?
when she does start financially struggling, she doesn't have to sell her shoes because her best friend is like, you can have my Tiffany engagement
What
ring.
best friend?
What?
I swear I had great friends in my life. They, if you borrow like money from your friends, they're on your back every single and good ones. I'm not even talking about bad ones.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I love my friends, but also if somebody out there has a Tiffany engagement ring that you don't want, I will happily take it and
Thank
sell
you.
it.
Yes.
No
Hey guys.
problem. Yeah.
Thank you here.
You know,
Struggling writer. Can you give it to me? I need to
yeah,
publish
yeah,
my book.
exactly. Exactly. But no, I actually have a very complicated feeling, a complicated relationship with Sex and the City because I really do love that show
Me
so much.
too.
And it kind of bothers me when they're like Carrie is terrible because she does have moments where she's terrible, but then she does have moments where I think she is like empathetic and she makes mistakes and admits that she makes mistakes.
And she
So
doesn't,
like
yes, she
I don't
doesn't
think
get
you
the
can
way.
say she's all good or all bad.
But this is very human to me. Like even my
Hmm.
sister and I were watching things, and then we were watching these videos about, analyzing how awful Carrie is. Look what she did to Aiden, and big, and how she mistreated Aiden. And my sister and I were like, but guys, this sometimes happen. Like, and
Yeah,
you yourself do this to someone, and maybe you regret it, and
right.
maybe you feel bad about it later. But guys, why are you saying this? There are men who have been doing this all the time on TV, and they are seen as cool, sexy, unattainable. But why when is it the female character having a selfish moment or doing something that is innately hers or preferring herself over friends or whatever? She is seen as she's crucified. So I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like it's such a bias and it bothers me because I love some of those shady male characters on TV, but I also love Carrie Bradshaw and I love Skylar White and I love some of those women who are seen as unlikable or detestable because guys, it's human. You can be unlikable. So you can do things that people will see as, selfish or cruel or whatever. So I don't know. It just bothers me. Hey, girl,
You
did
got
you?
stuck a little bit.
Yes,
The
instant.
last thing I heard was complicated female characters.
Oh my God. Okay. So those complicated female characters like Skylar White, like Carrie Bradshaw, I love them
Mm-hmm.
because they're complicated and because we do shitty things, we do awful things, embarrassing things, we do selfish things. But when you see the male characters, on the other hand, like in Mad Men, in Breaking Bad, in Sopranos, they are loved and revered for the same reasons that the women are
Yeah.
hated for. They cheat and they're mean and they're nasty and they're selfish. But you see it actually as a very sexy character trait on TV. I'm not saying in real life.
Yeah.
So why is it seen as repulsive? And why do these women write these lengthy articles about Carrie attacking her when guys, if it was the same male character, central male character, it would be like same.
And it's interesting, we keep doing it with like because I watched Girls for the first time pretty recently,
Yeah,
and that was the same thing where all I had heard was like, oh, well, they're spoiled, they're this, they're that. And I'm like, that's kind of the point, is that they're supposed to be obnoxious, like young women who don't
exactly.
know what the world is like, and they're like
Hmm.
making mistakes. Like, I think them being spoiled is the point,
That's
because
the thing.
especially when you're a white woman in the world, you are kind of
Hello. She,
oblivious
of course, to pain
to
of
what you're
women of
going through.
color. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is why when I was watching Sex and the City, one of my great friends, he is like a cinephile. He told me, but did you see what is it called? Insecure? Like Issa Rae Insecure? I was like, no. He told
Mm-hmm.
me, you gotta see it. You gotta see what it's like women in color when they try to do like a
Yeah.
show like that. So I watched it and it was like revelatory and I was thanking him to this day, Brian, you know yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's on my list. I need to watch it. Okay,
have to. Of
similarly, we keep on talking about, but I wanted so do you know what the Today Show is? It's like a morning show in the United
course.
States. Okay,
Yeah.
so Jenna Bush Hager, who is the daughter of the former president, she is a host on the Today Show. And
Hmm.
I actually, this is not me dunking on her because I really do like her because she has great taste in books. And also we went to the same school, so she like always whatever. I really do like her a lot. I have a soft spot for Jenna. But she was doing this like segment on the show where she was talking about, "Oh, I was a teacher and the Today Show kept calling me to be on the show and I was like too afraid to take the meeting, and then my grandmother, Barbara Bush, was like, take the meeting, always take the meeting." And that's how I ended up on the Today Show. And she was telling this to her co-host, who was like an African American woman, went to an
Goodness.
Ivy League school, like just the traditional journalism route, right? And I was like, does she understand that she sounds ridiculous? Of like, oh, well, they were telling me as a teacher with no experience to
Can you
take the
believe
meeting
this?
to come on the Today Show, and people were like, "Oh, her co-host, like her body language seems off," and I'm like, "Yeah, her body language seems off because she has to listen to Jenna Bush
Exactly.
talk about how her grandmother had to basically force her to take this meeting." I was like,
Goodness.
anyone's body language, and I say this as like a fan of Jenna Bush.
Yes, but it's still, you have to call out even people you admire for their
Hmm.
insensitivity or even,
Oh
like
yeah.
their lack of, understanding other people's plights. This
Oh
is
yeah.
not a route for a regular woman of color who wants to go up
Hmm.
and be on a show like this.
Yes, this is another, if I may, just one more quick pop culture
Girl,
rant. I'm
yes.
so glad you brought this up because I am a huge Taylor Swift fan.
I
I
know.
I will admit it, I like her music a lot. There's something comforting about it. I always say Taylor Swift music to me is like the equivalent of like a chicken soup. Like it's not that complicated necessarily, but there's something comforting about it, and it feels like it just hits the spot sometimes. but there's this like idea that if you criticize her, you're, a troll, you're a
You're not a real
misogynist,
fan. Oh
you're
yeah.
not a real fan. And I'm like, no, I can say
I can
sometimes she's
admire it.
out of touch, or I can say, hey, this album wasn't my favorite. I liked this more. I'm not a troll. I'm just somebody who's like engaging with the art that this person is putting out there on a deeper level. That does not make me a troll.
Fandom culture has become sheep mentality.
Awful,
I feel like I
awful.
have to like pray to this. I'm not. I can like, oh my God, because I was in a fandom and you are supposed to like everything that the actor does. But what if he makes a shitty movie? What if he says something shady? No, 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 no. You are attacked by people because
Hmm.
everyone wants to appear like they're the best. I don't want to appear the best fan. I don't even want to
Yeah.
appear like the best anything. I just want to like something the way I do, or I don't.
And I think everyone can decide for themselves what the line is. Like,
No, but
yeah,
there's this
maybe that
mass.
person did do something shitty, and then you can decide, hey, I can acknowledge that this person did something shitty. It can make me uncomfortable. I cannot like it and still keep being a fan. I
Loving the
don't think that's
art.
the end of the world. Yeah.
No, because I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot of brainwashing, mass thinking thing going on in fandoms. This is why I feel like when I'm liking something, I'm gonna like it to myself. I'm not gonna be involved in or even
I
try to,
know.
yeah, because
I
it's
know.
become too much.
But like even telling somebody you're like a Taylor Swift fan, I feel like has a negative connotation because either they think you're just like dumb listening to dumb music, or they think you're like a lunatic that thinks she's like a god on earth. And I'm like, no, I listen
It
to
can
a
be
lot of
neither.
music. Yeah, I listen to a lot of music, and one of the people that I listen to is Taylor Swift. Like it's not, it doesn't have to be more complicated
I
than
don't
that.
have like a shrine in my room where I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Taylor Swift, Taylor
I
Swift, yeah.
I did basically have a Chris Evans shrine though when I was like 13 years
You,
old, so
girl,
it's fine.
deserved, deserved. Why not?
Yeah, but not to Taylor Swift. I was
Yeah,
thinking about this because, as I said, I'm turning 32, and so I was thinking, like, for my cake, I wanted to do, like, feeling 32, and then I was like,
that's
people
so
are gonna
cute.
think, and I was like, let them think I'm a dumb Swiftie,
Yeah,
I don't care.
exactly. You're a dumb Swift.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
that is the age thing of it all. That's like one of the
Yes.
best pieces of advice I ever got in my life. I have this aunt who I adore, and she was like, the difference between your 20s and your 30s is that you learn not to care as much. And I saw her the other day and I was like, you were so right. It's almost like a switch has gone off in my brain in the last year where it's like I can choose what my energy goes to. So I can
Yes.
choose not to care. Or
Yes,
like
girl.
if I get invited somewhere, I have the choice to say no. Like I don't have to
Yes.
spend time with you if I don't want to.
Exactly.
Um
Because I
and
value
I know.
myself and I want to,
Mhm.
yes, exactly, to make that choice for myself. Of course.
And sometimes there are obligations and that's fine, but sometimes I'm allowed to just say no.
Exactly.
And I'm allowed to stay home and read my book if I want to. I'm allowed to talk to my friend and do this podcast if I want to. Like I don't have to like it sounds simple, but to me that is such a powerful idea,
Of
especially as
course.
somebody in my life where a lot of things has happened to me and I haven't had the choice in a lot of the trauma that has happened to me.
Yes.
So to be at a point where you're like, I can choose if I want to do this or not. And like,
Yes.
there's X amount of things in my life that I can't control, but I can decide. And I speaking of depression, I think it's so bullshit when they're like, you can choose to be happy. No, you
Shut
can't.
up. Shut up. I want
If
to
you're
punch anyone who says
it's
this.
it's one of the most insensitive, awful things I think you can say to somebody who is struggling. I don't think you can choose to be happy. I don't think you can choose to turn on and off your emotions. But what I'm learning is like you can choose to just be like, I've given X amount of energy to this thing and I don't want to do that anymore. And so like you
I
can
agree.
control that way, but like you can't control if something hurts you. If something hurts you, it hurts you.
Or if you
You
have
can't
this
really turn that
inherent,
off.
exactly, this inherent sadness that probably accumulated from too many
Right.
things that either happened or you
Exactly.
lost. So, what does that even mean? Some people process it
Exactly.
with a different thing, and some people process it that way. So, it's not up to you to tell me how I'm supposed to process whatever happened to me
Right.
or whatever
Right.
I've seen and lost and stuff. So, yeah,
And
I
you
just
can
leave
make
this.
the choice of like, I'm really gonna work on this. I'm gonna try to process this. I'm not gonna let the sadness control my life.
And
But you
overwhelm it and
can't
destroy it. But
overwhelm
there,
it. But
yes.
you can't erase it. You can't just be like, I'm not gonna be sad about this anymore. Bye. That's not how it works.
Or
Like,
my
that's not
life
how
is
grief
now
works.
starting to look good. So I'm not gonna feel bad. What does that even
Yeah,
mean?
I think both of those things can coexist at the same time. Like,
Exactly.
you don't, what is the thing they say about grief where it's like you don't outgrow the grief, you learn
That's
how to
the
grow
you
with
live
it, or
with
you
it.
learn how to live
Exactly.
with it. And that's literally what it is. I think the
I
best,
still mourn my grandfather, and he died in 24 to this day. To this day, I can't imagine that this person has been cut out from my life all those
right?
years.
Yeah.
It still is something that is very painful to me. So
Yeah.
no, I might not ever grow like,
Yeah.
no, never.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot to say. The amount of people, yeah. I'm afraid always to talk about grief because they're like, wasn't that so and so years ago? And I'm like, so? That
I,
person's still
I don't
gone.
care. I don't care
The
what you
amount of
say.
times I've had that conversation of like, well, that, was a while ago. Okay, and it still hurt me deeply. It still
Still
hurts.
hurts. Still
Yeah.
hurts. Still
The
hurts.
best analogy that really helped me with grief is the idea that like grief is like a rock in your shoe. Like
Yeah,
sometimes it goes to the back of your shoe, you don't even know it's there. And then sometimes like it kind of is like annoying, like it's around your shoe. And then sometimes like it'll stab you and you'll bleed and it just like is a deep wound. And
it's
I feel
true.
like that's just how grief is. Like it's
That's
always
true.
there. It's just sometimes it's like it's kind of pushing you more and sometimes it's not.
In the
But yeah.
background of your head. Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. You're
Hmm.
right. Shirin, you are a jewel and you're a gift to this world. And I just want to celebrate and thank you for everything, this amazing conversation and your openness, because I know this is like a big deal to you.
But this was fun. I'm actually looking for a therapist. Can you be my therapist? I'll like PayPal you and I'll be like, can we just talk about bullshit for like 2 hours?
You don't mind that at all, by the way. I would love
Yeah.
to talk to you a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It definitely
Or
has to
like
be
just
off camera though,
come,
because
yeah. Or like come to Texas, I'll buy you dinner. We'll be like, just talk to me.
yes,
We'll just stay here until we get kicked out. No. But like also not to be I'm trying really to be better about thinking of like the beauty of the world and blah blah blah. But there is something really beautiful about like you can just meet a friend that's on the opposite side of the world and connect to them and feel like you found
so
a soul
true.
sister.
So
And
true.
like I didn't know you 10 years ago. I didn't know you
Can
five
you
years ago.
believe
And now
it?
I feel like you're a big part of my life. And so there is something like really beautiful of like, we don't know what's coming for us. We have no
Yes,
idea. There's all kinds of things that could surprise us, like whether
exactly.
it's a friendship bond, a romantic bond, a job. I got to interview one of the actors from Pluribus, and I think he's like in his 50s, and he was like, I had no idea. Like, I thought my career was a certain thing, I thought it was winding down, and then this
Wow.
show happened, and it's completely changed my life. And he was like, I had no idea even a year ago that I would be in a position where somebody would want to interview me. And I was like, that is like really beautiful, and
This
you
is
really just
wonderful.
don't know. And I guess to again leave on a positive note, we have lost so many talented women at a young age, but like you mentioned, like a Toni Morrison, a Maya Angelou, like we have, the Ann Patches of the world that are still doing really brilliant things. I mean, Louise Erdrich, there's like so many, like a Donna Tartt, like there's just so many, for all the tragedies, there's also people that are kind of that do keep going or don't have um that don't run into as much tragedy, I guess.
Yes.
Because what again, another is like it's not sort of it's not talent that's going to get you there. There's a lot of,
No.
like Sophie Kinsella, she died of a very aggressive form
Yeah.
of brain cancer. So it's like that is just pure dumb luck. And so for
Yeah.
every talent, there's like, yeah, you have to have the talent and all those other things, but sometimes you just run into horrible, circumstances.
Exactly. You can't help.
So
Yeah.
for every one of those, there's also the ones that do get
Stay
to
and
live
inspire
to
us and make us
stay.
feel like, yes, we're
Yeah.
also staying
Yeah.
and we're not
What a
going anywhere.
what a what a beautiful way to put it. There's a lot of people who get to stay. I'm
Yes.
stealing that. I'm
And
gonna
we're staying.
Yeah, we're staying. We're
We're
gonna try our
staying,
best
girl.
to stay. We're gonna try our best. We can't control I don't know, the external stuff, but we can try our best to stay and be present
Yes.
and be there for each other. Yay.
Soul
So when are
sisters
you,
forever.
yeah, when are you coming on Chasing the Gold?
I am coming, girl. I am telling you, I
Okay.
am coming. Don't you worry about it.
Okay.
I am
Yeah, yeah.
coming, and you're coming for
I'll see you
two future
soon.
conversations here.
Absolutely.
I'll
Absolutely.
get you,
I'll see
Shaden.
you soon. And also, Jay, I promise that if somebody does give me a Tiffany engagement ring to sell, the first thing I'm gonna do is
And
buy
this,
you a plane ticket to Houston.
yes, I'm coming, and you
Yeah,
better
I'm
take
gonna
me
buy.
to all the cool places.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna buy you a vacation. I promise. If I hit some sort of lottery,
Let's
if
find that friend, Shaden. We can look
yeah.
for that rich, irresponsible friend who loves you too
I
much.
know. No, I love how people are like you need to find a rich man. We're like, no, we need to find a rich friend. You've all been
Exactly.
doing it very wrong. It's like
Exactly.
you don't need a Mr. Big in your life. You need a Charlotte in your
Charlotte.
life.
That's not true.
I will be your Charlotte if I can. I'll try my best.
You're the
I can't.
best.
I'm not anyone's Charlotte right now, but that is my goal.
Find your
Yeah.
Charlotte and then be my
That's my life goal for the next decade of my life
yes,
is
girl.
to to find my Charlotte and be a Charlotte.
Okay, girl.
All right.
I love you.
Yes, I love you so much. I gotta run. If anyone is still watching this, thank you for hanging with us. And bye.
Kaboom.
Should I hop off? Do you want to stop
Wait, I'm
recording?
gonna stop recording.